Hello and welcome to the latest edition of the Football Culture Podcast. The World Cup is over and Spain are champions of the world. And I think it's fair to say that Spain's style of play, which saw them pretty victorious in the World Cup through the whole of the competition, was born in a Spanish city in particular, and this Spanish city being Barcelona. And regardless of the fact that Spain are playing very much the Barcelona way for the last couple of decades, Barcelona is an extremely important city in Spanish football culture. Not only do they have one of its two biggest clubs, but it's also the second biggest city in the country, and also has a hugely vast and rich football culture. So today, with me, I have someone who is something of an expert on football in Barcelona, where the Football Culture Podcast meets the Football Culture Club. Football Culture Club tours. Gabriel is here with me today. So, Gabriel, introduce yourself to the listeners.
So for having me, my name is Gabriel. I was born in Argentina. I grew up in Israel. But I worked in different football clubs. At the beginning, it was in Tel Aviv. Then I moved to Berlin. I worked for some other countries as well. Afterwards, I lived the time in Buenos Aires. I back to my roots. And 7 years ago, I moved to Madrid, Hawaii. And I lived there for 4 years. And then 3 years ago, I moved here to Barcelona. So I got to know different football cultures from in different places. And 1 year ago, I started this initiative of Football Culture Club, which is a way of showing the city in the football lights, showing different aspects, not only football, mainly football, but also history, politics, and other stuff related to football, which is always a good way to explain really to all you things.
Absolutely, yeah, no, I totally agree. And some fantastic cities to live in, for football. I mean, Buenos Aires is probably the best football city in the world, in my opinion, for so many reasons, so many clubs, so many history, great atmosphere, great culture. Berlin, again, is one of the best cities in Europe for football. So many different clubs, great city. Madrid, and of course Barcelona. So great stuff. Okay, so today we're talking about Barcelona. So give the listeners an idea of what the city of Barcelona is like. So it's the second biggest city in Spain. It's the capital of Catalonia, up in Spain's north. Give us a flavor of what the city is like and its culture.
So the city is very multicultural. It meets to the beach of all over the world. It meets people from South America, from different places, from Europe, from Asia, from Africa, and of course, a lot of Spanish people. Many of them are local, the Catalans, but Catalonia had many immigrants for other parts of Spain, especially Andalusia and Extremadura during the 60s and the 70s. So, of course, it's Catalonia, and the main language is Catalan, something that many people do not know, even people that arrive you to live. It's a great city. It has many things to do, many things to see. I have been living here for 3 years, and I cannot say I really know the city. I always find new things, discover new places. And of course, football is a big chunk of the city. It's very much present in anything in the city. Everybody has an opinion about the football, about the clubs. Usually, there are supporters of one of the clubs of cities. You wouldn't find many Real Madrid supporters in the cities. Although there is a Real Madrid shop in Barcelona, but there's also a Barcelona shop in Madrid, so it's okay, balanced. The football culture itself is quite big. I guess we'll talk about the big clubs and also the small clubs, but I try to enjoy all of them, not just Barcelona and Espanyol, but the other stuff as well.
Yeah, absolutely. There's more than just two clubs in the city of Barcelona, and we'll be going through those today. Okay, so let's start then with the biggest of them all, FC Barcelona. Now, we won't go through the whole history of the club. I think that's quite well known, or if not, maybe an episode focusing on that at a later date. But today we're talking about the city itself. So, FC Barcelona, obviously, huge club. How big are they within the city? I mean, is it a case of most people within the city are Barcelona fans, or are they bigger than that?
So Barcelona, in a way, Little Barcelona is like the national team of. Just gonna take this up because it's uh, it was not allowed to it. Do you have a feedback? Well, in a way, Football Barcelona is like the national team of Catalonia. So many people, even if they're not football fans, they don't really watch football. If you ask them what club you support, they're gonna say automatically top culé. I mean, it is I'm a Barcelona fan. I can find it like the taxi drivers, people who just that I meet in the street and I start talking with. But of course, it has to do a lot with Catalonia's history, with Spain history. Just a brief historic part from 1939, when the Civil War ended, until the death of Franco at 74, 75. Any language that was not Spanish was not allowed. So, of course, Catalan was one of these languages that were not allowed. Also English, by the way. That's why Football Club Barcelona had to change their name to Club de Football Barcelona. You can see that their crest during the Franco years, it's not FCB, it's CFP. But the Catalan became something that you could only speak at your home or at the stadium. So it made the connection between Catalonia and Football Club Barcelona very strong, and it's like that till today. Now, of course, if we talk about real supporters, I would say that 95% that the supporters of the city are Barcelona fans, for sure. Most of Espanyol fans, and I think that most of them would agree with me too, were just born into it. I mean, their grandfather or their father or their mother just took them to the stadiums when they were kids, and this is how they became supporters. Unlike Barcelona, that many of them, they like the success, they want to be part of it, they want to be part of the big community this is why they become Barcelona fans. So that's also the biggest one.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's like journalist Gil Balaguer, who's from Barcelona, but he works in the UK, covering English football for Spain and Spanish football for England. He's an Espanyol fan. I was listening to a podcast that's how he became an Espanyol fan. It's because his grandfather took him. Is that I was the reader. So yeah, so we see Barcelona very much the flagship club, and they are the club, aren't they, that represent the idea of Catalonia and Catalan independence? No, I mean, is it true that a lot of FC Barcelona fans, maybe not so much now because they're so popular, but they were originally like from the upper classes of society?
So traditionally, that can be right. With the Ide, you will find both and Papos. And if we go deeper, we would find in the stadium itself many people that are not from Barcelona. This is one of the, in my opinion, one of the problems of this club and its culture. But generally speaking, yes, you would find different people from different classes. But Espanyol as well. The origins of Espanyol are in a neighborhood called Sarrià. This is where their stadium was until 1997. So most of its history from 1900 was founded. And this neighborhood is kind of posh. So they're also like not very, low classes or something like that. But yeah, Barcelona is, although it's not, well, it belongs to the people. It's a members club, but still it's considered to be rich and to be powerful. Powerful, it totally is. Now, financially, they're struggling in the last decade. We're not probably not going to dive into that today, but it has also a lot of affection on the club and on its culture and on its fans. And it has much to do with the mega project of the new Camp Nou. and other project like the new basketball arena, which is also taking place at the moment. Um, but it's interesting that like Barcelona is the representative of Catalonia, but actually there is another club, a small club from other part of Catalonia that is like Athletic Club of the Pau, which in this class of a lot, uh, they sign only local players, only Catalan players. So it's like they are put parallel of Catalonia, Catalonia's Athletic Club. Of course, they're playing in fourth division, but I would say that they are the most Catalan club. But you can also sense it in most of the stadiums in Catalonia. The first languages would be Catalan. On the announcements, in the signs, in whatever people are talking to Catalan as well. But classes are very favor.
Yeah, it's like I mean, everyone seems to think that the Barcelona are like the sort of like the flag bearers of the Catalan idea and the Catalan independence idea. But you know, when you go to the city, like you say, there are other clubs that you could say are even more Catalan. And also as well, like if you go to a city like Girona, much smaller club, obviously, and not within the city of Barcelona. But you go to Girona, I mean, it's feels like the most pro-Catalan city on the planet, you know. So it's not just FC Barcelona. Now, you mentioned the Camp Nou and the redevelopment that's recently taken place. Now, the thing that struck me when I first went to the Camp Nou is how small it looks from the outside. You know, because you know it's the biggest stadium in Spain, the biggest in Europe, and you think to yourself, "Oh, this must be huge from the outside," but it actually looks quite small, doesn't it?
Well, to me, actually, it looks big from outside, but then you step inside, it looks much bigger. And that because this type of stadium that go inside and start walking downstairs, and it gets bigger and bigger. It's like a giant ball in the middle of the neighborhood. So it looks big from outside, but it's totally bigger. And like in my tours, people are getting blown away because of that, because many of them, like most of them, are not from Europe, and they're like they don't know the size of football stadiums. In the States, you can find some stadiums, mostly college football stadiums, but neither of them is something that like professional. And the size of it and the atmosphere that it can create, not always created, by the way, but it can create a tremendous atmosphere. And the fact that this within a neighborhood is quite special as well. Nowadays, most of the stadiums are migrating outside cities, but this one is totally there, and it's probably gonna stay there forever, but at least for more, many more years.
Yeah, absolutely. When you go to the Camp Nou, you know, there's lots of bars surrounding it. Lots of fans walk. You know, I got the metro, but that's probably because I didn't know quite where I was going. But you know, many fans were walking down the diagonal to the stadium, and yeah, there's lots of bars, places to get food, etc., around by the stadium, which is always good. And yeah, like you say, I was in the lower tier of the stadium, and you just look up, and it looks as if it just goes up into up into the sky forever. And of course, you know, there's a roof being put on and a few extra seats added. Although I would say that, is it fair to say that so it's really worth going to the Camp Nou? I mean, it's one of those must go to stadiums. You know, it has to be on the bucket list. But like you said earlier, there are a lot of tourists that go, aren't there? You know, it's very touristic now, and maybe that dilutes the atmosphere for some of the smaller games. But on big Champions League nights, the atmosphere is pretty incredible. No?
Yeah, I was I'm a member of Barcelona, also of the club, but I have no season ticket and not enough time being a member. It's a long waiting list. But 3 years ago or 2 seasons ago, actually, when they were still playing in the Montjuic, I got you know one of the season ticket holders. He walked into going here at Montjuic, so he resold me his season ticket, and I got to be for all season in the Montjuic. So the Montjuic itself is an anti-football stadium. Yeah, it's an Olympic stadium, and it's quite terrible watching football. But the Champions League night there were really good. So there it happened like that. So the Camp Nou is like really, really great. Having also away fans that are not so common in Spain. So in Champions League game, we already see many supporters from the other club, and that's create a great atmosphere because the local fans, they want, to be superior, so they try to sing louder, and then it creates this atmosphere that is really unique. So I think that the atmosphere there in Champions League game usually is better than just a league game. Of course, in the big games, again, Atletico Madrid or Real Madrid, so forth, it's a great atmosphere too. But Champions League are the next best stage.
Yeah, I could imagine, and it is so much better. I'm a Real Betis season ticket holder, and the atmosphere is pretty good at Betis for any game. To be honest, it's one of the noisiest and most atmospheric stadiums in Spain. But when it's a European game, it's even better because there is an actual noise coming from the away section. There's thousands of away fans. And in La Liga games, sometimes a goal can be scored for the away team, and there's just a hushed silence of disappointment. Whereas in European games, there's a huge roar from the other side of the stadium, and it adds something extra. I mean, there's many reasons why Spanish fans don't travel like they do in, say, England or Germany or Italy, but that's for another episode. But yeah. Okay, so that's FC Barcelona. I mean, the history of the club, everything about the club, the kind of players they've got on the pitch. I mean, that's a must go to on your football bucket list. But of course, the second most popular team in Barcelona and Catalonia, or is it? Because apparently they say Real Betis has more peñas in Catalonia than Espanyol do. But officially, historically, the second biggest and most popular club in Barcelona and Catalonia is Espanyol, which of course translates as Spanish. So if FC Barcelona are very much the national team of Catalonia, how do Espanyol fit into everything?
So first of all, we need to contact really big history. Well, the Barcelona was founded by first person of Spanish who was Juan Gamper. Original name Hans Gamper was from Switzerland. And when he started Football Club Barcelona, most of the players were not Spanish. Most of them were foreigners as well. And Barcelona was founded in 1899. And 1 year later, Espanyol was founded. And when Espanyol was founded, it was founded by 3 students that wanted to create a club that would be for the Spanish people. And at the beginning, it was Espanyol Asociación. It's like the association of Espanyol's people, the Spanish people. Nowadays, it's called RCD, which represents Real Club Deportivo Español de Barcelona. It's quite a long name. And they're also a royal club. Again, this is something maybe to another episode, but originally they were like the alternative for the local people. Now, with the years, of course, Barcelona became like the ultimate representative of Catalonia and the local people as well. But I would say that in a typical game of Espanyol, we wouldn't find so many tourists. Also, since 2009, they actually are not playing in Barcelona. They're playing Cornellà. It's a city that is like 20 minutes from Barcelona driving. It's not that far, but of course, it's a little bit more challenging, especially for a tourist that is not aware of how to get there or to find it. And also for local people, it's a little bit more difficult to get there. And there are a quite unique case because most, I would say like 99% of Spanish clubs or European clubs, they play within their city. Very uncommon to find a club that is playing in another cities. But that has to do with history and the way that Barcelona, the city itself, is built, that the fact that there is no real estate for building a new stadium. Their stadium is quite modern. I was opened in 2009 and see then they actually not only maintaining it very well, but also renovating it every summer. It's a 40,000 seats stadium. And to be honest, I really like it. I mean, it's one of the best stadiums to watch football in Spain. it's a square shape, so it's more like an English stadium. You're really close to the pitch, and you can sense it like in every point of the stadium. To my clients, I always tell them that if they already had ticket to go to see Football Club Barcelona, that's great. But if they had an extra time and there's a game of Espanyol, they totally gonna enjoy it a lot. Tickets are much cheaper, and the experience is great. I mean, like the atmosphere is really good there. The shape of the stadium makes it to be even better, and yeah, they haven't been successful in Barcelona, of course, but yeah, it's an interesting club with a lot of history, and I think it's like a really good football experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I went to see Espanyol play. I don't remember who it was now. I think it might have been Ibar when they were in La Liga. I was in Barcelona for a week, so I got to as many games as I could. And Espanyol was one of the ones I went to. And yeah, I agree with you. The stadium's great. The atmosphere there is good. Not always full for games like against Ibar, but I'm sure it's a noisy place when they play the derby against Barcelona or Real Madrid or one of the bigger clubs in Spain. And yeah, outside the city, but you can get to it by metro, can't you? And it's a nice area. It felt like quite a wealthy little town. The stadium was in. And of course, they were in Saria, what you mentioned before, which they left in the 90s because of financial problems, which was a big shame because that stadium looked a great stadium. But what a lot of listeners might not know, like you say, Espanyol's a club with like a huge history. I think in the historical table of La Liga, Espanyol's like fifth or sixth, something like that. You know, they're quite high up. They've rarely spent time out of the top division. They've had a bad 10 years or so when they've had two relegations, haven't they? But Betis have spent more time in the Segunda than they have.
Actually, they've been relegated 5 times, and from these 5 times, we all came back at the ISNI. So they actually been in second division only 5 seasons. So that's why they're quite, consistent in being in first division. But they also won 4 Copas del Rey. The last one was in 2006 with Mauricio Pochettino, and so it's not like a bad club or something. They have a lot of tradition, they have a lot of success, and many good players grew up in this club. Uh, if you already touched it, so the rivalry between Espanyol and Barcelona is quite intense. I mean, this is the oldest rivalry in Spain. It's the oldest derby, and the games between them are always very hot. In fact, for the past seasons, there is no visiting crowd in either of their derby. Not because of a decision of the Federation or La Liga, but it started when Football Club Barcelona's fans did not want to pick up their tickets for the away game, and afterwards Espanyol did the same. So ever since, every Espanyol game is a totally home game. Barcelona not so much because there are many other people that they're coming against that are not totally Football Club Barcelona supporters. For the Espanyol games with Barcelona, probably one of the 2 or 3 only games in the season that are sold out, and they're full of only Espanyol fans. So the atmosphere is great. Moreover, this season happened something that is not very common in between these two clubs, which is a direct transfer for the player. Joan Garcia moved from Espanyol to Barcelona, and not only that it was a direct transfer, but also Joan Garcia actually grew up in Espanyol. We kissed the crest many times, so for the Espanyol supporters, it was very harsh thing to happen, and since then it caused a lot of problems. Let's say it like that. The first derby that was in Espanyol Stadium, it was the first time that I saw here in Spain nets behind the goal just to protect Joan Garcia from objects that were thrown on him. So this rivalry is quite intense. Also something that many people might not know. And if you can get tickets to a derby, to Barcelona derby, it always gives a good game. Not always very equal, but also interesting because of the other reasons besides football.
Yeah, and is it true that there's an element where is if FC Barcelona are are the club of Catalonia, the pro-independence club. Is there an element where Espanyol are more, or Espanyol fans are more comfortable with being part of Spain, or is that changing?
It's a good question. It's a long answer, but I'll try to pick short. For first of all, they are a royal top. That means that they have the crown or in the crest. They have the royal word in their name. Here in Catalonia, supporting the monarchy, like a big no-no. Nevertheless, Espanyol is a royal club. They have a crown in their crest. Of course, it's something that goes back like almost 90 something years. So it's more a tradition than a political thing nowadays. But yeah, you could also see not long ago, just before the World Cup, there was like a game between Egypt and Spain. Yeah, that was in the RCM Stadium. Now, traditionally, the national team of Spain do not host games in Catalonia because many people in Catalonia they don't like the Spanish national team. But this game, because of many reasons, was supposed to be in Qatar. Then this war in the Middle East started, and they had to find another place just like a week or so before the game, and it was there in Estamil Stadium. I went to this game with my nephews, and this is the game where some fans were chanting against Muslim people. Now, this is something that is very uncommon, in my opinion, here in Catalonia. But it was led by not so many supporters, but of course, national teams games tend to be different from clubs games because many of the people that go to the team they're not regular supporters, so they hear something they just keep on singing it without thinking what they're singing. So it started with a little group, and soon enough, it was half of the stadium singing these racist songs. And in a way, it has to do with the fact that there is a small core of Espanyol supporters that are quite far right, politically wise, unlike other clubs in Catalonia that tend to be left wing. So yeah, Espanyol is a little bit different in this aspect. Nothing that you would sense in normal games, but I do sense it like in a way that it is there, although it's not very sensible like to the regular people. But they have this a political thing that
Yeah, it's interesting. When I went to Espanyol, I got talking to some fans who were they made me laugh because they were singing an anti-Barcelona song to the tune of the hymn of Barcelona. So it was ended in "Puta Barcelona," which amused me. And I started talking to one of them, and he told me that he was actually pro-independence, and he voted in the referendum, non-official binding referendum. Again, that's something too difficult to get into now, but the referendum that I guess most listeners will have heard of, that was in Barcelona, and he told me that he voted pro-independence, and he was pro-independence, and he had a pro-independence flag, but that it wasn't safe for him to take it into the stadium. The other Espanyol fans did not feel the same way he did. And again, he was telling me he was an Espanyol fan because it was passed down to him. And he was saying how much he hated Barcelona because every time someone famous comes to Barcelona or a foreign dignitary, it's always they get presented with a shirt of Barcelona, and it's just like, what about us? What about our shirt? We're here too as well. So that was interesting. And I noticed as well, there seemed to be a war going on with two of the ultras groups because they were in separate parts of the stadium, I think. I'm not sure what that was about, but yeah, Espanyol definitely a good experience. And if you're in Barcelona to see FC Barcelona, why not go there for a week and make sure you get to both of them. Okay, so another classic traditional club that people may not know, one of the founder members of La Liga, but a club that is not so famous these days. And I can see you are wearing their shirt now, which is Europa. So I stumbled upon Europa Stadium when I was staying in the Gracia area of Barcelona, and I just went for a walk, and I happened to stumble across the stadium. Tell us a little bit about the team that you support in Barcelona, Europa.
So actually, I saw this Auto Europa quite like two years there, like 11 years ago when I first visited Barcelona. And I was staying in Gracia. Now, Gracia, the full name of it is Villa de Gracia. Nowadays, it's a district, but originally it was a village. Villa de Gracia means the village of Gracia, and it was a separate part of Barcelona. Um, I think that until today, many people, especially the old people from this area, would ask them where are they from. Probably they're not going to say that they're from Barcelona. They're going to say they're from Gracia, whose neighborhood is very different from other parts. And this club represents the neighborhood and not Barcelona. So I was staying there. I already had tickets to go to see Cuba Blue Barcelona because I bought it like beforehand. And I was asking a friend of mine what, the real football I should watch. And told me, yeah, go ahead, go watch Barcelona. They're the thing just here in the neighborhood. And it goes like 500 meters from where I was staying. And it blew my mind because I wasn't aware of it because it's surrounded by buildings. So you cannot see it if you're not aware of it, like a really hidden gem. So I went to see a game. It was 11 years ago. They were playing fifth division. So, of course, the football level wasn't too great, but the atmosphere was tremendous. And since then, I always try to watch as many games as I can every time I visit here. And when I moved here 3 years ago, I immediately became a member of his club. This is a club that also, like Barcelona, belongs to the people. It is not a single owner. But unlike Barcelona, that has like 145,000 members, in Europa, we are like almost 4,000. So this club made a really long way. As you mentioned, they were one of the 10 founding members of La Liga. So they played in La Liga for 3 seasons, the first 3 seasons of La Liga. But from then and never again, they played on different low levels of the Spanish football, including sixth division. But the last decade was quite good. I think that the president of the club is doing a good job. And because of that, the club 2 seasons ago made it to third division. After 30 years, it wasn't the third division. No, in Spain, third division is the professional. So it was a great thing for the club. It was celebrated all over the neighborhood for a whole month, more or less. And this thing was, of course, a good thing. But I also explained it in my tour that going from fourth division to third division is a good thing, but it's also a bad thing. And I'll explain. First of all, in the third division in Spain, there's a minimum salary to every player. The minimum salary in the third division is 20,000 euros at the moment. That means that if you have 25 players in your squad, you have €500,000 extra pure budget that you probably didn't have at the fourth division. This is on this side. On the income side, the ticketing is quite the same. TV rights basically are not existing. So financially, it's a bad thing going from fourth division to third division, unless you have a really big stadium. The Stadium of Europa, no Sardinia, is a small stadium. Nowadays, it's only 4,000 seats. When it was we will build it for a little bit bigger. Like it was the same size, but it was for 7,000 people. But the fact that it is in the middle of a neighborhood with not enough emergency aid, it's limited to only 4,000 seats. So it's like something that blocks the club. Now, the second thing, which is the main problem, is that another regulation that the Spanish Federation had is that from third division and above, you must have natural grass. And no Sardinia, the stadium of Europa does not have natural grass. For many reasons, but the two main reasons is, first of all, it's also the training facility of all the teams of the club. That means that there is training there every day from 4 o'clock until 10 o'clock. So even if there was natural grass, it would be ruined within a day or two. And the second reason is that this stadium does not belong to the club. So if anyone needs to invest in it in order to make it different with natural grass, it's the city hall. of Barcelona, and they're not willing to do so. They were saying that it's not possible, that there is a parking lot beneath the stadium, and it's impossible to make it put their natural grass. I think that when Europa went to third division 2 seasons ago, most of the people assumed that they weren't going to be relegated within one season, which is probably the normal thing for a club doing so. But eventually, last season was great. Europa led the third division for most of the season, and was very close to make it to second division. We didn't make it at the end, but the club stayed in third division. Now the next year there's election here in Barcelona, so of course the mayor made like a election promise that he is gonna put natural grass in the stadium, but it's only gonna happen in 1 year from now. That means that last season and the next season, Europa is gonna keep playing in a stadium that you're not in the neighborhood, that it's not a football stadium. And this is very unfortunate because many supporters, especially the older people, waited the whole life. We Europa in the third division. For us, third division is like playing Champions League. And for them, if they're not able to actually watch the team, they're just used to going from their house, just taking the elevator down and being in the stadium. Suddenly they need to take the metro or a taxi, and it's a big cost for someone that is 75, 80 years old. And for me, it's kind of sad. Another interesting thing about Europa is that although it's a small club, it had many penias, many supporters with demonstrationists. The biggest one is called the Scapulazis, the ultras organization of the club. And they are creating an atmosphere that usually you won't find in this type of leagues. A very unique atmosphere, a very welcoming atmosphere too. And in the last years, you would see many people from, tourists or some people from other parts of Spain visiting Barcelona that they heard about Europa and they want to see it by themselves. So it became like something that people want to see. It's like the real football of the city in a way, and it's much accessible. Tickets prices are, it's normal. And prices are normal. You can call yourself going to a game. The season ticket is like around 150 euros. So this is quite unique. I would say that 99% of the club supporters are from Gracia itself. So again, you would see many shirts of Europa just walking in the neighborhood. Most of the kids of the neighborhood, they would go to Peace Club, not to Barcelona, not responding, or also to train, but also to watch games.
Yeah, it sounds like Europa are kind of being punished for their success in a way. So let's hope that they can get the grass, get playing in their traditional home, which really, like you say, really is a little gym. I've not been to a game there, but I walked past it, and I remember saying to myself, I must get to a match there next time I'm in Barcelona. So that's definitely on my list. And hopefully they can get the grass and get promoted to the Segunda, where in a couple of seasons, hopefully they'll be playing Sevilla in the Segunda division if all goes according to plan with the football gods. Yeah, I'm joking. Sevillistas don't at me with hate. It's just Guasa, as you know. Okay, so now I discovered on my last trip to Barcelona, completely by accident, another football club within the city. And I also discovered that they are the rivals of Europa. And I actually went to the derby. So this is the story, very briefly. I was in Barcelona. Something that I had planned fell through. I didn't check for football while I was there. And I was at a loose end. And I decided to see if there was any football on. And I saw that Sant Andreu were at home to Europa. And I thought, well, that's two clubs in Barcelona. So this might be, maybe it's just two local clubs playing in the lower divisions, whatever. But I went along, and what I came across was very, very much a derby. So tell us a little bit about Sant Andreu and the rivalry with Europa.
So Sant Andreu is also a club that actually represents Neighborhood. his class at the Middle East as they had the same Sant Andreu. It was also a separate part of Barcelona. It was like small town that was actually absorbed by Barcelona and made this district as well. And this club, I brought a shirt just for you to see, like, they're playing basically with Catalan, like this is their hockey. And they're playing with the yellow and red stripes, the most Catalan symbol there is. And this club is very much connected to the community. Their stadium is slightly bigger. It's 6,500 seats. They were also playing in fifth and fourth division in the last decade. But 2 seasons ago, when Europa went to third division, it was for the Europa supporters kind of sad, because as you mentioned, the derby is like the best game in the season, and the rivalry is tremendous. To these games, I don't know how you did it, but usually it's impossible to get tickets to the derby. They're sold out like weeks before. Even myself, as a member of Europa, when I wanted to go to the away game, that was there like 2 or 3 seasons ago, I actually had to stand in line for 2 hours. And when I eventually got to my time to buy the ticket, I was the fourth one that didn't get it. So I just waited 2 hours in vain. And well, eventually I went to the game because I got some connections in the city. But it was incredible for me. They were playing in fourth division, and 6,500 tickets were sold out just within hours. The game is always hot, although the supporters actually kind of share values. I mean, both of them are very Catalan. Both of them are very inclusive, very much anti-fascism. You know, very left-right, very left-wing, and they share that. But on the game, you're like the worst enemy, and the games tend to be very hot. Actually, one of the games that was in Europa's stadium had to be stopped at the 66th minute because the Sant Andreu fans were too passionate, and the fan that it separates the court from the stands were just thrown away, and the referee wouldn't continue the game. So the games are always hot and always interesting. And last season, Sant Andreu made it also to the third division. So this season, we're going to have back derby. Derby's name is Derby del Pla. And it's like the name of it is Derby del Pla or El Pobla, which is Sant Andreu, against La Vila, which is Gracia. So this is like a really good game to watch. Shout out to Copa 90. They did an episode about Sant Andreu, like a 20 minutes. Go see it on YouTube. It will extend you a little bit the sense of this club. And I think that the rivalry with Europa is very well.
Yeah, absolutely. On my visit, I mean, how I got a ticket, I just went down, just went to the ticket office and bought one. This was in May 2019, but the stadium was full, and I was really surprised. I was stood behind the goal with the Sant Andreu fans, and I was pleasantly surprised to see you could actually buy an alcoholic beer in the stadium. And I was like, okay, well, I can actually have a beer in a Spanish match. And some listeners may not know, but certainly in the first and second divisions in Spain, you can't buy beer with alcohol. No alcohol is allowed in the stadium, but lower down the divisions, it was allowed. So I was like, this was quite nice. And I noticed just looking around the terrace, that it was probably a left-leaning club in the sense of, the way people are dressed and the fact that weed was wafting down, which the last time I'd experienced that was at Real Vallecano behind the goal of the Ultras there. So another neighborhood club, very similar. But yeah, like you say about the match being passionate, it really was like the fans really. I remember one guy just went right down to the front, an older guy. I mean, he wasn't like 25 or anything. He must have been 50 plus, maybe even 60. And as the Europa players were coming off, he's down there, Eras Puto, like really veins sticking out. I was like, ooh, come on. So yeah, two very passionate fan bases and two great neighborhoods as well. And I think it's nice sometimes just to, if you're in Barcelona, rather than just going down the Ramblers and go, obviously see these places, as part of the city. go to Sagrada Familia, of course. But it's nice to just go to these neighborhoods and have a reason to go there, like football, and just see a bit of the city, how the people who live there live, rather than just the tourist areas. It's always a good idea.
Yeah.
So, another club that is based near Barcelona, which I am aware of because they have a friendship with the team I grew up hating. So I'm a Bristol City fan, and our rivals are Bristol Rovers, who are famed for playing in blue and white quartered shirts. And because of this shirt quirk, not many clubs play in them. They have a friendship with a club called Sabadell. So tell us a bit about them.
First of all, it's interesting that you mentioned that because this week I had some and people in may do the work and visit your cripple city there. So interesting. So Sabadell is quite an historic club. Sabadell is a city that is like 30, 40 minutes from Barcelona driving. By training would be like an hour or so. And they actually played many seasons in second division. I think they had these seasons in third division as well, but they're not very successful. It's like a very industrial city that had like one club. They don't have many like Barcelona. So if you grow up there, you're probably going to be a supporter of Sabadell. They have a stadium that is also just in the middle of the neighborhood, and like 15,000 seats. So it's quite small in a way. And this club was also competing together with Europa and Sant Andreau in the same league, in the fourth division, in Segunda Red. And they actually made it this season. They were competing with Europa in the third division. They were promoted together with them. And they made it to the playoffs. And I really don't know how, but somehow they made it and they were promoted to second division, to La Liga 2. Now, I mentioned earlier that moving from fourth division to third division financially is not a good thing, but moving from third division to second division, it's a totally different story. The TV rights are huge, and this is big money. If you take advantage of it and your management is good, it can really make your club grow and go to other places, and the differences are notable. Their stadium is slightly bigger, so they can increase their revenue also from ticketing. The stadium is not as football stadium like the classic one, like the classic English stadium. It's a little bit rounded, more Spanish style. So you don't still too close to the action as maybe in Espanyol Stadium or Europa or Sant Andreu, and of course Camp Nou. But it's like a really good place to go see football if you're in Barcelona. It's quite close. I guess I don't know the prices because they haven't published them yet, but I guess the prices of tickets are not going to be very expensive. And the train station is very close to the stadium. I've been there this season like 3 or 4 times, and it's a really nice atmosphere. Also surrounded by local bars, you can enjoy the atmosphere like 2-3 hours before the game, and then go in and see just a different type of football, something that probably you didn't know. I guess that the listeners know that the second division in Spain is very strong, very equal. Every year it takes some club that you wouldn't expect that would make it big. I don't know. I cannot predict what Sabadell will do, but they're probably going to meet some big clubs, some historic club that's going to pay later. So yeah, I would add it as well and check their games. If you're coming to Barcelona, probably it's going to be easier to get tickets to their skates as well, unless they success either very successful this season, so it might be a little bit harder, but I would recommend to go to their bigs. Wow.
Yeah, definitely. It sounds good. And like you said, there's a lot of big clubs in the second division, like Sporting Gijón, Oviedo. I was going to say Zaragoza, but they've gone down to the division. Yeah, which is an absolute disaster for them. I mean, the fact that Zaragoza have really, really a genuinely big club in Spanish football to have sunk that low is is quite shocking. I think probably even more shocking than Deportivo La Coruña, to be honest, in terms of tradition and history. But Sabadell sounds good. I'd like to get to a game there sometime, although I probably wouldn't buy a shirt just out of principle for the team that I've supported all my life. But yeah, I did. I almost went to Sabadell when I was in Barcelona, but for various reasons, I went to Girona instead. But I did have some Bristol City stickers with me that I was thinking of maybe sticking all over the toilets or something, just as a little bit of a prank. But yeah, there you go. Okay, so and closer to Barcelona, the city itself, is Cornellà, no? That's another club.
So Cornea is a club was actually I used to know in my tour. I still show it in my tour, but I practically showed it as an example of a club that is more focused in developing players, not really competing for titles. His club is actually attached to Espanyol Stadium. The distance between the two stadiums is 50 meters. So you're like basically attached. And they're playing nowadays in fifth division. But the reason that many people might don't know this club is because Leo Messi bought this club 2 months ago, became the chairman of this club. So suddenly, of course, it became that something that many people wants to see as well. And yet they have their, their stories, their history. The players that grew up there, like David Raya, the goalkeeper of Arsenal, grew up there. Gerard Martin, the left back of Football Club Barcelona, point squad, and some others. And this club changed a lot since Leo Messi bought it. Suddenly, many sponsors wanted to be part of this club. Until now, they were playing with the kit of Roma, the Spanish brand. Now they're Adidas, and probably next season is going to be better than the last one. And it's also something that I recommend, especially when people are going to see an Espanyol game, is to first go to the stadium of Cornellà. It gives you a sense of the smaller club, of the smaller community. And if we're talking about beers, the beer there is quite cheap and it with alcohol, unlike in Eternal State.
Okay, well, we like cheap beer, especially in Barcelona, which is not the cheapest of cities compared to some other Spanish cities. So yeah, if you get the opportunity to get some cheap beers in Barcelona, then definitely take advantage of that and watch some football while you're at it. Okay, cool. Well, are there any other clubs in the Barcelona area that you would recommend visiting?
So there are many others, but I want to offer some one. It's a small club. They're playing now. They've been just relegated to the seventh category of Spanish football. It's Jupiter. Jupiter is like the most anarchist club of Catalonia for sure, and maybe the most anarchist club in Spain. They were quite a big club, like 100 years ago, on the 20s, and they were from a neighborhood called Poplenot, the new city, close to the beach, and their history was shaped by a political incident. So back in 1925, when there was the first dictatorship in Spain, they were having a friendly game, a pre-season game with Football Club Barcelona. And they invited to this game a band, an English band of one of the ships that was in the port to play during the halftime. But they didn't tell them what to play. So at the halftime, they went to the pitch and started playing the Spanish anthem. And as you can imagine, the people in Catalonia, they don't like the Spanish anthem, so they boo it. Yeah. And they stopped playing it, and they stopped playing God Save the King. And suddenly all the people were applauding for the English anthem. Of course, it was sarcastically, but this news went very fast to Madrid, and as consequence of that, the stadium that Barcelona had these days, Camp Las Corts, was shut down for 6 months, and Jupiter Stadium was shut down forever. They had to find a new neighborhood, a new stadium, and actually starts from the beginning. Never really recovered from this incident. Until this day, they never went back to be a big club like they used to be in Philippines. So it's like a really good example how politics are always integrated into football. Nowadays, it's a really small club. They're playing in the neighborhood called San Macri, and their games are maybe in a big game you could see 1,000 supporters, but maybe just in the bigger games, usually like 400, 400, 500 supporters. But it's quite cool as well. I think that if you're not looking for a great football level, but you just want to see the real people, the real football, it's also a nice experience I would recommend. I like to go and see like one or two games in the season over there, and they also have like a nice, base of young players as well. Very much connected to community as well. But definitely would recommend this club as well.
Okay, yeah, great. Sounds good. I'll have to get Jupiter on my list to check out. We love a bit of anarchy from time to time at the Football Culture Podcast, and yeah, it just goes to show that how important politics are to football and history and everything. And Barcelona really is the city where there is a lot of political history, particularly with this uneasy relationship with the rest of Spain, and just incredibly interesting city. Yeah. So I would recommend that people come to Barcelona and go on one of your tours. So, Gabriel, where can the listeners book one of your tours to see all of this for themselves?
So you can just go to footballculture.course, .com. This is my site. Currently, I'm offering the two tours. One is a very complete tour in which you see 4 clubs in 5 hours, including Barcelona, Espanyol, Europa, and Cornellà. And another tour that is a walking tour that is more focused in the history of Football Club Barcelona. And hopefully from September, I would start doing these types of tours also in Madrid. One that could be more complete of different clubs, and another one that could be more dedicated to a want to do this tour.
Okay. Well, it all sounds good to me. So get in touch with Gabriel to experience all of that, and like and subscribe to the Football Culture Podcast. Tell your friends; really does help to spread the word. And follow us on all the social media, the Football Culture Podcast. And Gabriel, where can the listeners follow you on social media?
So on Instagram is my main channel of Football Pop the Pop. Where find me as the many reels of the local football here. I go to many games and with some inside content. So yeah, to follow.
Okay, sounds great. Well, I'm already a follower, so I encourage the listeners to follow as well. Okay, so that's it for this episode of the Football Culture Podcast, and we'll see you next time. Thanks very much to Gabriel for joining me today.